how QA works around here, and um, and this is Scotty continuing to inspire others.
I applaud his devotion.
Oh, indeed. So,
Hello there.
and Lord British Richard, we do have a request from the community to explain the Apple II.
So we go there and do it?
We can, and I have so we have you.
Yes, we're going to go to the Apple II. Follow me.
All right, very good.
Now, this is why this is awesome right now.
Nothing going on in there. That's right.
Nothing going on there. My
Britannia Manor. That's right.
And we now head to the Apple II. And what's interesting about this Apple II is this is truly the original Apple II that I wrote Akalabeth and Ultima 1 on. What's interesting is when I started Akalabeth, for those of you who are really old school Apple people, and then most of you are not, is these disk drives were what was referred to as 13 sector. There was only 13 pie slices of data to record on. And shortly after I published Akalabeth, they changed that to 16 sector, 16 pie slices of data. And so I upgraded this hardware from 13 sector to 16 sector between the beginning of Akalabeth and the end of Akalabeth, much less before Ultima. And so for me to run Akalabeth on here, I actually have to downgrade it. So I have a disk back in my office that I can turn this back down to a 13 sector hard drive or a floppy disk. And so this is what Akalabeth looks like walking around the outside. The plus sign is my character. And you can only see a 3x3 section of the map. These are two tiles of mountains. There's mountains to the north, there's mountains to the northwest. There is a tree or forest to the east. There is a town to the southeast. And there's just grasslands to the south, southeast, west, and northeast. And so now what we're doing is I'm going to move south, and you can see that town scrolled up. So it's only a 3x3 grid, so there's not much to see. And so you have to keep an eye out pretty carefully. So moving south, there's another town. If I hit enter to go in, or hit to go in, I'm now in a town where I can buy some more stuff. This person was smart and bought a lot of food, and they have no money left. So I can't even buy a weapon. So instead I'm going to leave, go back to the outdoor map, and I'm going to keep walking south. And what I'm looking for is a dungeon, which looks like an X. There's another town. And by the way, all these maps are randomly generated based upon the seed number that somebody puts in. And when you go into it, there's an X. So now I'm on a dungeon. And this dungeon, right now there's no map in the game to describe its existence. It is created when I go enter. And now what it's doing is it's using the X and Y coordinate of this dungeon plus the seed, which put that dungeon on the map there, to now generate the dungeon itself. So if you put in the same lucky number, you'll get the same outdoor map, and each dungeon level is also built off that seed. So, the seed plus the X plus the Y plus the level of the dungeon becomes the seed for the random number generator to generate the level. And so each level will start with not only looking the same, but the monsters will be in the exact same place. And so if you leave that level and go down or up and then come back to that level, it will start clean again in the original state because of the way the technology works. So here we're now looking at a 3D dungeon. There's the ladder up. If I hit X, I'd go right back where we were. But if I go forward, I'm now going to walk away from the ladder towards the corner, walk forward again, turn right. I'll look down that corridor. If I were to turn right again, it would go back to the ladder. But instead, I'm going to step forward. I'm going to step forward again. And I'm just going to look to the right, which should go close to back to the ladder, but not. But there is a trap door I can go through the floor in. But if I do, there's no ladder in it, so I can't come back up. So that's a way down, but not up. And there's traps, which will also take me down, but not up. But that would be a voluntary way to go down, but not up. But I'm not going to use it. It's a bad idea. I'm turning back left again to face the door. I'm walking into the doorway. It's just a tiny room with a door on the far side. I walk into that doorway. Oh, and look, there's the ladder down. Now, if I want to, I can hit X to go down here to level 2. It's now generating the level below us. And part of what it will have, it should show us a ladder back up. And so if I was playing carefully, I would make sure I remembered
where all these were, because the most common way to die in Akalabeth is running out of food. The next most common way to die is getting lost and therefore killed or running out of food. Because monsters get much harder very quickly. So I'm stepping forward, turning left to face that doorway. Oh, and it's a thief. Now, as I mentioned, I have no weapons. So I can hit A for attack, and all I have is my hands. So, and by the way, that thief would normally steal things, and gremlins steal food, thieves steal items at random, but I have no items. So I can attack with my hands. I hit him, but I didn't do very much damage. Attack, oh, and he stole some food. I didn't realize they could steal food. Oh, I killed him. Okay, so I killed that thief, but you notice I got attacked by a skeleton. If I turn left, he's probably standing there in the doorway. Oh, shoot. In fact, that's an orc, so I'm actually getting attacked by multiple things.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm attacking with my hands. Attacking with my
I
hands.
love that shit.
This is all
You got-
randomly
You
generated.
got ganked.
Attacking with my hands. Attacking with my hands. Attacking with my hands. I killed the skeleton.
Hit points 13.
Okay, I'm gonna turn left again. There must be a secret door here. There's a skeleton. He came through a secret door. I attack with my hands. Attack with my hands. I might actually survive this. Attack with my hands. Attack with my hands. Okay, I killed it. Okay, so I killed all the creatures. So it's 3 creatures in a row. And so now I'm gonna turn back to the right. I know back through this door was a ladder up. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna climb up this ladder. And you get your rewards from a dungeon crawl when you exit the dungeon. And so now that I'm up, I'm gonna try to remember, I think if I go straight and go through this and then turn left, I'll get to the ladder up, I think. And I think it's up to the next corner, not this corner. Up here, turn left, and there's the ladder.
There it is.
So now, if I exit this map, I will get rewards. So I've gained 18 hit points. So my hit points up to 31. That was higher than I started. And so now I can repeat that exact same path and just grind it out with the exact same monster, the exact same place. And in fact, the only real way to survive in Akalabeth, because this is a truly punishing game, is to basically do that. And
Over and over again.
over and over again. Now, this version is the original, truly original version I wrote before it was even called Lord British. During this one boots up, it says by Shamano Saleda Seal and Richard Garriott. And the owner, you know, when I first published it, that was the name of it. When my first big publisher showed up, they said, "Tell us about this Shamano business," and they explained my Lord British business also. And they said, Lord British is actually the better name of all of your names, Richard or Shamano or Lord British. They chose Lord British. It became published as Lord British. But this is, so even Akalabeth, the published version, and all the Ultimate Sense came out as Lord British. But this is one of my true originals, and Akalabeth by Shamano is really the very, 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 very beginning. But once I converted it to being called by Lord British, and especially once they ported it to the IBM PC, they made a difficulty level. So level 10 is the native level that you see right here. But it was so hard that we made a difficulty 1 through 10, and if you started at 1, you can sort of survive. But starting at level 10 was the native version of the way it used to be. It was really punishing.
Wow. And this is an Apple II Plus
Apple II
or
Plus. This is an Apple II Plus.
2? Okay, circa what?
Circa 78, probably.
Okay. Okay.
I started on the Apple II Not Plus in 77 when it first came out. And then when the Plus came out, it went upgraded to it, to a Plus. And then when it went to 16 sector drives, there's actually chips that you change in the board that's in there
Right.
that I upgraded immediately. And but otherwise, this is still the native machine, just as I used it originally.
And you
Yeah,
have more than... Oh, go
Would you
ahead.
have you ever had to repair anything in that Apple?
Yes, but not much. So I have 3 of my original apples. I actually don't know which one is older or younger. They're, I've collected them about the same moment in time. One is here, one's actually in my office, and one's in my house in New York at the moment.
Right.
And I don't remember which ones I've repaired which amounts. But for example, one of the 3 had its power supply die. It might have been this one. I don't remember. One of the 3, I have downgraded the drives from 16 sector. I found somebody who had the 13 sector chips, and I downgraded to 13 sector, so I don't have to do any special boot process. That's the one in New York. And I think that's the only repair I've done. That's it. I've downgraded one and I replaced one power supply, but otherwise they've all worked perfectly the rest of the time.
Because the drives are still functioning, you know.
And not only the drives still functioning, the disks all still work. The floppy disks have not lost their memory. I can still use literally Akalabeth number 0, the original master, and it still boots. In fact, that's what I booted this today. This right here today is running Akalabeth master 0. Which was the original one that I started copying the first things off of.
Now I had an Apple II with the 5.5 inch discs, but those discs did not survive. Of course, they were sitting in a 5.25. I'm sorry, 3.5, 5.25. I always get that wrong.
Right.
But those discs did not survive, but they were in a dusty garage. I'm sure you probably took a lot better care of them than I did.
Well, you know what's interesting is back at my office, I have I've been a pack rat my whole life, and every time I made a new version of Akalabeth, I didn't record over the old one because, again, you don't have any. That's the only backups you have. So if you decided that change was a bad change, you needed the one previous disk around to be able to revert.
Yep.
And so I kept them all, and so literally in my office I have probably 200 Akalabeth disks that are literally just as I was iterating. You know, you run it, you make a change, you save it on a new disk. You run it, make some changes, you save it on a new disk.
Yep.
And so all 200 of the iterations to get to this, I have sitting in my office right now.
That's awesome. Hey, what was that? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's all right. I think that one of the reasons why these discs would survive longer than later discs is because they're hard sectored versus soft sectored. So I think there's a higher chance that.
By the way, they are not hard sectored. So that's actually
really.
Apple discs, the timing hole that's in them is not used at all. And so you can actually put discs in there that have multiple holes or one hole, and it doesn't matter because it's not using the timing holes. And so, but by the way, I think that the sectors, if I remember, were still coherent in the sense of even though it's not hard sectored, they line up. It's not like every track is an ambiguous rotation away from the others.
They actually make big use
of the timing issue, exactly. And so so we put a bunch of time and effort and money into trying to copy protect the discs for no useful purpose. And
I did the same thing.
You know what's really funny is like I have these books that somebody produced, one of our players produced, of all the data out of Ultimus, but he pulled out of modern pieces. And the best place to get the modern data was off of Pirates, who cracked it. And so it often includes like a couple extra tiles. And people are going, hey, what's this weird tile at the end of your tile set? And I'm going, that's not in the tile set. That's a pirate edition of the pirate set. That was never in there. And the first clue is it's multicolor. And I'm going, there's only green, orange, blue, and violet in the original Ultimate 2. So if there's any other colors in there, it was not part of the game. And,
just take credit for it and say you hacked it, beyond its capabilities for the time,
Special edition. Special edition. When I first started doing commercial software in 84, 85, it was on Commodore 64, and we had at the time Fast Hack'em was the tool to beat, and what we did was we put our protection on track 45, which was definitely well farther, far out and farther out than Fast Hack'em could deal with. But the problem was that if your 1541 drive was anywhere near out of alignment, then it would think it's a pirated copy. So. Right.
Well, we would do the similar things. Like, for example, if you think about the step, the fun thing about working on these machines is you could, the firmware was well within reach of you as a programmer. And so when you would look at the way the disk drives would work, there were actually 4 individual windings that were used to move the disk head from one track to another. So it's kind of 4 interval steps to get to the next track. And that extra track was far enough away to be very safe to make sure there's no magnetic overlap. Well, it turns out 3/4 of a track was in fact far enough away to not have any problem. And so what a lot of times we would do for both protection and more than putting more than 140K on a disk is, as opposed to using full track gaps, we'd use 3/4 of a track gap. And that way you would actually have a 25% additional memory on the disk, plus it was pretty good copy protection. But most of those nibble copiers who were on there would do what was called quarter tracking. They would magnetically, or move the stepper motor the 1/4 of a full track movement, which was the minimum you could move the head. And they would read it and write it, or kind of look for data. They would just kind of feel their way out and see when the highs and lows and the magnetic signature would come. And so they would try to figure out what you would do. But we would even do things like go full track, 3/4 of a track, 2 tracks, junk in the middle. All this. You do all these kind of crazy
security
things.
Through obfuscation.
Right,
Yeah.
but of course it was useless. Ultimately, you'd spend months putting it in, and somebody would take a day to take it out. So
Exactly right. You can't build a lock that can't be picked. It's
but the lock can be picked way faster than you can make the lock. So it just was never worth it in hindsight.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'm going to call it a night.
Very,
Pleasure to be
very
with
cool.
You. Pleasure to work for you.
Absolutely.
And,
Thanks, Richard.
absolutely, pleasure.
Yes,
Good night.
thank you for the
Have a
time.
good one.
Thank you for the hospitality, and thank you for the use of the robot.
Yes, the robot.
Indeed. You are welcome to come back on the robot anytime. Me robot, Sug robot. Make yourself at home.
Much appreciated.
Indeed.
What kind of robot is that? What model is it?
This is a Beam Plus.
Beam Plus.
And we actually have a second Beam Plus Pro, I think they call it, which is now mine. So this was mine for a couple of years. The newer model is a little faster and has 2 antennas, so it has a little clearer signal connection. And so I use the slightly newer one. But this is our community robot. So, frankly, any of you out there that are watching this, if you have a sincere interest to come out here, we welcome people to come roam the halls basically anytime, especially by robot. And so we can set you up. If these guys here already have full access, but really anybody that has a sincere desire and can put their visit to good use, like NBNN, or in your case, plan events or whatever it might be, you're all welcome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I come in on the robot and I work with the folks here to plan events or brainstorm some ideas every now and then. But it's not to get into their chili too much. But, good.
Very cool. Very cool. I love this shit.
Love this shit. Yeah. It's worth $1 million, right, Laz?
It is. Worth a lot more than that. Worth over 10 million these days.
10 million. That's true. All right. Well, you know how to get back to your docking station.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and dock it. Thanks for the extra.
Showed his computer better than I could.
I did not know about the quarter truck.
Alrighty, and that is the nice little surprise final tour.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's great, actually. This chair is so
Ooh, you're breaking up there.
Of course, I was away from the computer. I was cooking food when he got here.
Evo,
Now I've got to go eat.
Why are you breaking up on us, Evo?
I'll be back in a bit.
Oh, you're parking.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can do that.
You're mostly in there.
Mostly in there?
That's what she said.
Next time on a different time, please. Oh, dear.
No, is Evo, you're all staticky for some reason. I mean, like wobbly staticky. I don't know if it's me or is anybody else hearing them normal?
Yeah, it's all scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, You were
Yeah,
clear as
when
a
you
bell
did
up
that, it
until
was
about a minute
Getting
ago.
a lot of white noise.
Still there? What else?
Yeah, all white noise. So you could hear underneath, your voice is there, but it's coming through all overmodulated.